After 5 minutes from the start of the lack of oxygen, we had this group of plants emitting an SOS signal to warn the surrounding plant that there is something that is going wrong.
For centuries, we believed plants were silent, passive beings, quietly growing in the background of our lives. But what if they were speaking in a language we simply couldn't hear? Recent breakthroughs using artificial intelligence have uncovered that plants emit ultrasonic signals, secret messages about their health and environment that animals respond to and even humans unknowingly influence. This astonishing discovery forces us to rethink our relationship with the natural world and raises profound questions about the intelligence and sensitivity of the plant kingdom surrounding us. Ultrasonic plant signals. Imagine a tomato plant, silent to our ears, suddenly sending out bursts of clicks at frequencies far beyond what humans can hear. These ultrasonic sounds range between 40,000 and 80,000 cycles per second, well above the 20,000 cycles per second limit of human hearing. Scientists first detected these clicks in a quiet, soundproof lab, using special microphones designed to capture these hidden noises. At first, the room remained silent to human ears, but the machines told a different story, a story of plants speaking in a secret code. These clicks were not random. Instead, they came in structured bursts, each pulse carrying information about the plant's condition. When plants experienced drought stress, for example, the rate of clicks increased to about 40 per hour. A tomato plant cut with scissors produced a completely different pattern, showing that the sounds related directly to the type of stress the plant was under. This discovery challenged the old idea that plants are passive, unfeeling organisms and revealed that plants have an active way of signaling their state. Researchers extended this finding beyond tomatoes to tobacco, wheat, cactus, and other species, all showing similar ultrasonic signals under stress. The sounds were subtle but constant, streaming invisibly around us, encoded messages broadcast into the air for millions of years. This meant that plants were not silent observers of their environment. They were active communicators, constantly sending and perhaps receiving messages we had never detected before. The sheer existence of this plant language opened a new field of inquiry. For a long time, scientific instruments lacked the sensitivity to capture these high-frequency signals. Humans lived believing plants had no voice, while a live conversation thrived at a level beneath our perception. The fact that plants could talk without us knowing shifted our understanding of the living world. It forced scientists to reconsider the boundaries between plant life and animal communication, and to ask, what else have we been missing? Yet, hearing was only the first step. What did this plant language mean? Could these signals be decoded, understood, or even translated? The implications of finding structured messages in plants raised deep questions about how life interacts beneath the surface of what we see and hear. It was a mystery waiting for the right tools to solve it. This is where artificial intelligence entered the picture, providing a key to unlock the patterns hidden within these ultrasonic clicks. Before AI could analyze the data, researchers had mountains of recordings, but no way to distinguish one stress signal from another reliably. Machines trained on human learning algorithms showed promise in interpreting the intricate bursts. But even as researchers listened to these plant signals for the first time, many questions remained. Were these merely signs of physical processes inside the plants? Or were they meaningful messages intended for other organisms? Could animals or even plants themselves be tuning in? The answers would soon reshape how we understood ecosystems and communication beyond human language. As this field developed, it became clear that these ultrasonic plant signals were just one piece of a far larger conversation happening in nature, involving networks and interactions we had barely imagined. And what AI revealed next moved the science from discovery to revelation. The hidden language of plants was not silent after all. It was vibrant, complex, and deeply connected to the living world around us. AI decodes plant communication. Capturing the ultrasonic signals was just the beginning. The real breakthrough came when scientists turned to artificial intelligence to decode them. By feeding thousands of recordings from different plants under varying stresses into machine learning models, AI began to recognize patterns invisible to human analysts. These systems learned to distinguish whether a plant was thirsty or injured purely based on the structure of its clicks. In controlled tests, the AI achieved an impressive 84% accuracy in identifying what kind of stress a plant was experiencing. That means 8 out of 10 times the machine could listen to a plant and correctly tell if it was suffering from drought or physical damage. Such precision ruled out random chance and demonstrated that plant sounds contained reliable, meaningful information. The machine learning process involved training neural networks on labeled data, where the plant's condition was known in advance. Over time, the algorithms refined their ability to identify subtle differences, like variations in pulse frequency, rhythm, and duration, that corresponded to specific stress types. This level of analysis outperformed traditional human pattern recognition and opened doors to interpreting a whole new sensory channel in nature. Researchers also moved beyond single plants, analyzing multiple species and different stress scenarios. The consistency of results showed that this communication was widespread and not an isolated quirk of one plant type. It suggested a shared biological coding system evolved over millions of years, allowing plants to broadcast information about their internal state. AI's capacity to translate these coded messages brought profound clarity to a question that had baffled scientists. How do plants communicate stress? Prior to this, plant signals were mostly studied chemically or visually, but sound was largely overlooked. Advanced computing techniques offered a new lens to understand the dynamic and complex signals plants release in real time. By enabling real-time, non-invasive listening, AI shifted the research from theory to practical application. It raised exciting possibilities for agriculture. Could farmers soon monitor crop health just by overhearing these ultrasonic signals? Early detection of water shortage or pest invasion through sound could revolutionize how crops are tended and protected, saving resources and boosting yields. Beyond farming, decoding the language of plants changed the fundamental way humans perceive life around them. Humans had long believed they dominated nature as the only aware species, but AI's revelations suggested a more balanced relationship, one where plants actively signal, respond, and influence their surroundings. While the decoding moved science forward, it made even larger questions unavoidable. If plants send messages, who listens? And how do other living beings respond to these sounds? This mystery led researchers to examine the behavior of animals in the presence of plant signals, uncovering a remarkable story of interspecies communication. Artificial intelligence had not only cracked a code hidden from us for ages, it was also helping us listen to a language spoken by life itself. Animal responses to plant sounds. Once the existence of ultrasonic plant signals was established and decoded, a natural question followed. Do other creatures hear and act on these messages? Researchers focused on insects with sensitive hearing, particularly female moths, to test whether animals use plant sounds to make decisions about their environment. The results were both surprising and illuminating. In controlled experiments, female moths were given a choice between laying eggs on a healthy, silent plant or one emitting rapid ultrasonic clicks, the distress signals of a stressed plant. Time and again, moths avoided the stressed plants, selecting quiet ones to seal the future of their offspring. This indicated that moths can detect and interpret plant cries as warnings, adjusting their behavior to improve survival. This discovery marked the first scientific evidence of direct acoustic interaction between plants and animals. It showed that plants are not simply passive backdrops, but active participants in ecological communication networks. The ability of animals to listen to plant distress sounds adds a layer of complexity to how ecosystems function. The ecological implications are profound. If moths and likely other species respond to these acoustic cues, it means that plants influence animal behavior far more than previously realized. Decisions about feeding, mating, and habitat choice may be shaped by the silent but now audible language of plants. Further research suggested this communication network extends beyond insects. Bats, small mammals, and birds might also benefit from tuning into the plant world. For millions of years, these interactions may have shaped evolutionary paths, helping species navigate dangers and opportunities with subtle but powerful signals. The discovery forces a reevaluation of how species coexist. Instead of a one-way relationship where animals consume plants, the acoustic dialogue reveals a dynamic exchange where plants warn animals, and animals respond to plant signals. This mutual awareness challenges old notions about the hierarchy between flora and fauna. Understanding this dialogue has practical consequences as well. It may guide conservation efforts, pest management, and farming practices by considering how animal behavior is influenced by plant signals. Ignoring this acoustic communication could mean missing key pieces in the puzzle of ecosystem health. As a newly revealed conversation unfolds among plants and animals, it becomes clear that we humans have been deaf to a vital dimension of nature. With artificial intelligence as our translator, the once hidden world of plant speech is becoming part of the story we must learn to listen to and respect. The connections between plants and animals through sound form a bridge in the living world, inviting us to reconsider not only what we hear, but how we share the spaces we all inhabit. Fungal networks and tree communication. Beneath our feet lies a hidden world more connected than we ever imagined. Trees are linked through vast underground fungal networks, weaving an intricate web often called the wood wide web. These fungal threads wrap around roots and stretch for miles beneath the soil, connecting individual trees and plants in a complex communication system. Far from being isolated organisms, trees are part of a vast community exchanging information and resources below the surface. For years, scientists believed these networks were primarily cooperative. Mother trees were thought to share nutrients and carbon with younger or weaker seedlings, sustaining the broader forest family. This vision painted forests as nurturing and harmonious ecosystems, united in survival and mutual aid. However, as artificial intelligence examined the data flowing through these networks, a more complicated reality emerged. When a tree is attacked by insects, it doesn't simply suffer passively. Within hours, it begins sending chemical warnings like jasmonic acid through its roots and into the fungal network. These messages travel underground to distant trees, alerting them to the threat. In response, those trees start producing their own defensive enzymes well before the insects arrive, preparing for battle ahead of time. This early warning system highlights a level of forest-wide coordination only recently understood. The communication doesn't stop at warnings. Research on legume plants demonstrated that when one suffers an aphid infestation, connected neighbors release compounds attracting natural predators of the aphids. In essence, the plants call for reinforcements, using the fungal network as a biological alarm and support system. Together, the forest acts like a single living defensive organism, sharing information and marshaling its forces underground. Yet the network also reveals a darker side. Certain tree species, most notably the black walnut, use the same fungal channels to poison competitors. They emit chemicals that suppress the growth of surrounding plants, vying for the same space and resources. This aggressive strategy shows the fungal web serves multiple purposes. It is a resource-sharing platform, an alarm system, and a chemical weapons delivery network all at once. Artificial intelligence was key in unraveling this dual nature. By tracking the timing and patterns of chemical signals, AI showed that toxic compounds target competing species selectively, sparing beneficial fungal partners. This precision suggests a calculated biological warfare, rather than accidental chemical leakage. The forest floor is not just a peaceful community, but also a battleground where survival depends on strategy and control. The fungal networks themselves exhibit surprising traits. Studies by researcher Yu Fukasawa observed fungal mycelium in controlled settings, choosing specific paths, prioritizing connections, and seemingly remembering previous growth patterns. Despite lacking a brain or neurons, This network behaves as if it makes decisions, an intelligence distributed across countless fine threads. These findings challenge our understanding of intelligence and communication beyond animals. All this underground activity happens in silence and darkness beneath every step we take through forests or gardens. It changes how we view the world below, showing it as a dynamic environment where trees and fungi engage in constant interaction, negotiation, and conflict. The Wood Wide Web reveals a realm of life that is both cooperative and competitive, hidden from everyday sight. As we uncover more about these fungal networks, it becomes clear that communication in nature is far more complex than audible sounds alone. The invisible chemical and electrical conversations beneath the soil expand our awareness, linking plant life in ways that shape entire ecosystems. The fascinating complexity of underground communication prepares us to see that plants not only connect among themselves, but also respond keenly to the presence of humans. Plant sensitivity to humans. Surprisingly, plants can sense and respond to individual human beings, distinguishing one person from another with measurable signals. Researchers equipped plants with bioelectric sensors that recorded electrical voltages emitted by stems and leaves when different people approached. This electrical activity was then analyzed by a deep learning artificial intelligence system, which could identify who was near the plant with 66% accuracy, well above random chance. Such findings confirm that plants detect more than just general environmental changes. They register specific individuals in their vicinity. The notion that plants respond uniquely to different humans challenges old assumptions that plants passively accept their surroundings. Instead, plants appear to have a finely tuned sensitivity to living beings around them. Building on this, follow-up studies used advanced AI models to examine how plants react to human emotions. By converting electrical signals into visual patterns, researchers trained neural networks to classify emotional states based solely on plant bioelectric responses. Remarkably, the system achieved 97% accuracy in detecting human emotions, surpassing most humans' ability to read emotions in others. This level of perception suggests plants not only detect presence, but also read subtle emotional cues. While plants do not feel emotions like humans, the electrical changes in their systems correlate with human emotional states, indicating a complex sensitivity to environmental and biological signals. Such interactions open new questions about the extent of plant awareness. Independent studies further confirmed that plants respond differently when a person is nearby compared to an empty room, showing shifts in electrical activity before any physical contact occurs. This preemptive response may have evolved as an early warning system, helping plants detect the approach of animals or threats before damage happens. Detecting large mammals nearby provides a survival advantage. These discoveries point to this deep biological link between humans and plants, not just some simple thing we can see with our eyes. Rather, it seems to work past sight and sound, into electrical realms and a kind of bioelectric chatting. Every step, every emotional wobble seems to get tracked by the plant's bioelectrical nervous system. So in turn, it changes the way we read our relationship with the living world, even if we never notice it happening. Now, the study doesn't claim plants have consciousness or emotions in the same animal sense. Yet it really shows that plants are not inert at all. They keep tabs and they respond, actively engaging with what is around them, on a sensitivity level that science is only now starting to fully understand and sort out. When we accept that plants can recognize particular individuals and emotional shifts, it also brings up serious ethical plus practical questions. Like, how would that reshape how we treat plants and whole ecosystems? Would farming and gardening in general shift if we see plants as responsive partners instead of passive materials we just use and move on from? And as plants' ability to sense and interact with us keeps getting clearer, it nudges us to question the borders between species. It also asks us to rethink our place in the natural conversations happening everywhere, all the time. These insights into plant sensitivity set the stage for understanding the growing challenges plants face from human-induced environmental stress. Environmental stress and pollen allergies. As human activity intensifies, plants face increasing environmental pressures that not only impact their health, but also ripple through our own well-being. Nearly a third of the world's population currently suffers from pollen-related allergies, and studies project that by 2050, this number could rise to more than half of all people alive. The pollen season across many regions, especially in North America, has already extended by weeks, with airborne pollen concentrations climbing over 40% in the past 20 years. Climate change and higher atmospheric carbon dioxide levels are major drivers of these changes, causing plants to flower earlier and produce more pollen over longer periods. However, artificial intelligence has uncovered a subtler and more troubling aspect of this phenomenon. Pollen from plants under high environmental stress contains altered protein structures, making it more irritating to human respiratory systems. This means stressed plants are producing pollen that is chemically more aggressive. More intriguing is the geographic distribution of this chemically harsh pollen. AI analysis shows that the most irritating pollen tends to concentrate in areas where human impact on plant communities is most intense. Places such as deforestation boundaries, industrial pollution zones, and expanding urban edges. These zones compress and disrupt wild plant ecosystems, leading to heightened stress. The pollen produced here doesn't just increase, it changes in ways that worsen allergy symptoms. Cutting-edge deep learning systems, such as those developed at the University of Texas at Arlington, can now distinguish between pollen types from closely related species with unprecedented accuracy. These AI tools are being used to monitor how pollen protein profiles shift as environmental conditions evolve. Their findings confirm that plants under the greatest human pressure produce airborne compounds most harmful to human airways, regardless of whether this results from biological stress or cellular damage. What we breathe on allergy season days is, in part, a direct reflection of the stress plants endure because of human development. This connection highlights a complex and often overlooked interaction between ecosystems and public health. The health of plant communities and the chemical nature of their pollen are becoming critical factors in understanding rising allergy rates worldwide. This discovery reinforces that plants are not merely passive victims of environmental change, but active biological entities responding and reacting to human impact. Their altered chemical emissions affect animals and humans alike, turning an ancient biological dialogue into a modern health concern. It hints at the unintended consequences of our expanding footprint on the natural world. Recognizing these links raises important questions about how we manage land use, urban growth, and pollution. If we want to protect both plant communities and human health, addressing the stress we place on the environment becomes essential. The story of pollen allergies thus becomes a compelling example of the intricate ties binding humans and plants. As plants reveal their struggles through changing pollen, their signals join a larger pattern of global communication among plant communities at incredible scales. Global plant coordination. The plant kingdom is far from a collection of isolated ecosystems. Evidence increasingly shows it operates as a highly interconnected global system. When scientists combined NASA satellite data with ground sensor networks and analyzed the results using deep learning AI, they uncovered patterns of coordinated responses spanning vast geographic distances. Environmental disturbances like huge wildfires or chemical spills send ripples through vegetation far beyond the immediate impact zones. These ripples appear as shifts in chemical productions and electrical outputs in plant communities connected across regions. The signals do not remain localized, but propagate, causing distant ecosystems to adjust their biological functions in response. This phenomenon suggests that plants operate not as isolated entities, but as parts of a larger, integrated biosphere. Some researchers propose that this interconnectedness functions like a single coordinated organism, though not in the sense of a conscious mind. Instead, it emerges naturally from billions of individual plants communicating through volatile chemicals, underground fungal networks, and possibly electromagnetic signals, channels still being studied. The coordination results from dense and deep connections, weaving together responses across landscapes. This coordination means that local environmental events have global biological consequences. When one forest undergoes stress, nearby and distant plant populations react, sometimes shifting chemical defenses or growth patterns. The whole biosphere appears surprisingly aware of its collective state, adapting in real time to maintain balance or respond to threats. Artificial intelligence has been kinda essential to spotting these patterns, not just helping, but really making it possible. Only through AI's capacity to deal with huge amounts of data, from satellites to different sensors, can scientists observe this planetary-level communication. This feels like a new era for understanding how life on Earth actually works, more as a connected whole than just a simple pile of parts. With coordination at this scale, the older ecological models get shaky, especially those that look at isolated habitats or one species at a time. So, it pushes us to rethink how we frame conservation, environmental change, and ecosystem resilience altogether. When we really recognize the biosphere's interconnected layout, our view of environmental responsibility shifts in a less obvious but still big way. The global plant network's responsiveness makes the urgency harder to ignore. If stress shows up in one area, it can echo outward, miles away, into ecosystems that seemed unrelated. Our choices in one region can ripple through the living web, and that can change distant plant communities, then, in turn, the animals and people depending on them. This kind of deep communication across the planet kind of invites us to ask where we belong, like we might not be outside the system, but inside a living, breathing network far more complex and responsive than anyone expected. And from there, it sets the stage for dealing with the ethical and practical consequences tied to this newly found awareness of plant communication and our own place within it. That realization makes the planet feel less like a collection of separate places and more like one constantly shifting conversation. We are only beginning to understand its language, but every new signal adds another piece to the picture. The more clearly we see these connections, the harder it becomes to ignore how closely human actions are tied to the health of plant life everywhere. Understanding this planetary dialogue leads naturally to confronting the choices we face about how we interact with the living world every day. Implications for human interaction. The discoveries that plants communicate complex information and respond uniquely to humans challenge the way we think about our place in nature. For centuries, people have viewed plants as passive and unfeeling resources, little more than scenery or materials to manipulate. But what AI has unveiled forces us to reconsider this relationship, showing that plants are active participants in a vast, intricate web of life. This raises profound ethical questions about how we treat the plant kingdom. If plants can distinguish individual humans and even detect emotional states, our interactions, intentional or accidental, may have consequences we never imagined. Walking through a garden or forest isn't a one-way experience. Plants register our presence and respond in scientifically measurable ways. This awareness confronts us with questions about respect, responsibility, and the hidden impacts of our behavior on living communities. From a practical perspective, these findings open new possibilities in agriculture and environmental management. Listening to plants' distress signals could help farmers detect water shortages, pest pressures, or disease before visible symptoms appear. Managing crops based on real-time communication from plants may increase efficiency, reduce waste, and improve sustainability. In turn, this could reshape farming from a system of control to one of partnership with living organisms. The ethical dimension, however, is subtler and more complex. While current research does not claim that plants experience suffering as animals do, the data show plants possess far greater sensitivity and awareness than previously believed. We face difficult choices. Should our use of plants change in light of this awareness? How might laws, conservation efforts, or everyday behaviors evolve to reflect plants' agency? These discoveries also highlight the urgent need to reconsider human impact on the environment. Plants under stress from urban expansion, pollution, and climate change communicate their distress through changes that affect not only ecosystems, but human health as well. Recognizing plants as active communicators and participants in ecological balance underscores why protecting natural habitats is critical. Philosophically, the thought that a conversation with plants has been going on for hundreds of millions of years really messes with our self-image, like we are not just separate witnesses, but part of a shared biological back and forth, listening and responding in ways that we're only starting to grasp. Maybe not completely yet. That insight tends to bring out a deeper kind of humility, and it pushes us toward coexistence rather than domination. And the role of artificial intelligence in all these findings cannot be brushed aside. AI basically gives us the instruments to detect what was always there, but somehow beyond what we could perceive. It also feels like a gentle reminder that technology can strengthen our bond with the natural world, instead of merely upping control over it. How we use it will decide what kind of future relationship we get between humans and plants. In the end, the question sitting in front of us isn't about whether plants communicate or respond. They clearly do. The real issue is how we as a species choose to take part in this ancient, complicated dialogue. Will we listen carefully and then act with respect, or keep treating the living world like a simple stage set for human ambition? Coming to terms with these new realities means we need a thoughtful balancing act between science, ethics, and practical action. It nudges researchers, policymakers, farmers, and ordinary people to rethink what it means to live alongside a world that seems far more awake and more responsive than we ever imagined it could be. Perhaps the most important shift is recognizing that this conversation is already happening around us. The challenge now is learning how to hear it without assuming we understand every signal. As science and AI continue decoding these hidden exchanges, our choices may determine whether this ancient relationship becomes one of greater understanding or another opportunity for humans to dominate what they have only just begun to notice. We've learned that plants aren't silent. They communicate, respond, and connect in astonishing ways. AI helped us hear their language, revealing a living world full of signals and sensitivities. As we move forward, our choice is clear. Listen closely and act thoughtfully. If you found this eye-opening, please like and subscribe to stay curious about the unseen world around us.